If you're struggling with sex addiction, I'm sorry. I want to help you figure out what kind of sex addiction treatment works to treat your type of sex addiction. I struggled with compulsive sexual behavior most of my adult life, and I know what you're going through. Please know there is hope. You can use the crisis of sex addiction that brought you to this video to create powerful healing and change if you make the right choices regarding treatment, since most of us can't do it alone. I know I couldn't. In this video, I'm going to share with you, number one, the essential components of an effective sex addiction treatment plan. Number two, we're going to define sex addiction, and then I'm going to help you understand the different underlying root causes of compulsive sexual behavior. Number three, I'm going to touch a little on the sex addiction controversy. Number four, highlight why it's so difficult to treat. And finally, you're going to get the proven evidence-based sex addiction treatment methods that work based on scientific studies. I'm Craig Perra. I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, and my team of therapists and coaches have been treating sex addicts all over the world for the past decade. We've worked with thousands of clients. I'm Craig Perra. I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, and my team of therapists and coaches have been treating sex addicts all over the world for the past decade. We've worked with thousands of clients. I'm here because of my own personal failures with sex addiction, so I know your shame. Let's dig in. First, what is sex addiction? We can't talk about sex addiction treatment until we understand exactly what we're treating. In simple terms, sex addiction is out of control sexual behavior, often done in secret, that causes significant distress or harm in a person's life. Sex addiction is a phase, though, that really only describes the symptoms and tells us nothing about the underlying mental health issues causing the symptoms, and we're going to talk about that. But first, you need to know a little about the sex addiction treatment controversy. Sex addiction treatment is complex and highly controversial. Many experts say traditional treatment models like the 12-step or the CSAP programs were built on a framework designed for alcohol addiction over 80 years ago. In my opinion, the focus on sobriety at the expense of healthy sexuality, in my opinion, is fundamentally flawed. It's why organizations like the American Psychiatric Association, the World Health Organization, and the American Society of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists have all rejected the traditional "my sex addiction is a disease" treatment model. And the complexity of sex addiction is one of the reasons why traditional sex addiction treatment fails so many of our clients. And I want to share this with you to see if you connect. Many of our clients, they're men, they're action-oriented, and they tell us that their traditional therapy is too focused on problems versus solutions. They tell us it's too slow, too focused on sobriety instead of building healthy sexuality. They tell us it lacks structure and tools and wholly fails to address the long-term problem of sustainability, how to make your gains last. You do not, I repeat, you do not want to be a sex addict for life. So what are these different types of sex addiction? As you will see, it gets even more complex. For many, the secret sexual behavior is a salve for the wound of anxiety, stress, or depression. Essentially, it's a harmful coping strategy. That's what it was for me. For others, sex addiction sometimes has roots in obsessive compulsive disorder or fetish. For many, deep down inside, sex addicts often hate themselves, so they get that significance need met through affairs, attention, camming, and texting, and other unhealthy sexual relationships. Also me. Sometimes sex addiction has roots in childhood trauma or sexual abuse or shame or neglect. Also me. Then there are those, like me, whose behaviors are tied to narcissistic tendencies where cheating and deceit play a role. These sex addicts have an incredible capacity to lie, compartmentalize, and lack empathy. Sometimes sex addiction is rooted in a mood disorder like bipolar. So, as you can see, this is really challenging, and it's why you need to find a competent expert that appreciates these challenges and is going to help you address the underlying issues. And please remember this. Please, the behavior, the compulsive sexual behavior, is the symptom, always. I now want to talk briefly about why sex addiction is so difficult to treat. The origins of sex addiction are a complex combination of biology and environment. For many sex addicts, the lying, the compartmentalizing, the lack of empathy, the low self-esteem started in childhood. And when you really think about it, sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces in human nature. And most men, certainly our clients, that power started going off the rails in childhood. These men never learned to respect that power, to honor that power, and that power grows in secret, sometimes rooted in shame, and then add to that the cultural upbringing that rewards just do it and the objectification of women, and these sex addicts become great liars. These behaviors, the hiding it, the shame, the reward, the coping strategy, the conquest, the escape, become deeply ingrained, hardwired through decades and decades of repetition. For most men, using pleasure as an escape from pain or to feel significant and get a reward is literally some of their oldest and most impactful habits. So how do you rewire the mind, body, and spirit after decades of poor programming? Here are the essential elements of a sex addiction treatment plan. And if your current sex addiction treatment does not include these essential elements, ask yourself if you think the elements I'm about to reference are in fact essential. An effective sex addiction treatment plan must include, number one, you must have direction and purpose. You must know exactly what you want to accomplish in life and move in that direction. And you must cultivate a deep appreciation for your why. Why do you want to stop? Why do you want to be a better man? That's purpose. Number two, you must master self-control and mindfulness. Your triggers are biologically hardwired. You will never learn to be successful until you can manage the triggers from stress, anxiety, and sexual urges because they do not go away. You must understand habits. We are habit machines. Understanding how habits form and how to break the cycle of compulsion is mandatory. Number four, you need community and accountability. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And those connections with men who understand your struggle will accelerate, deepen, and help you sustain your journey to healthy sexuality and a great life. Number five, you gotta nail the basics. You must improve your self-care. If you aren't taking care of yourself, eating well, sleeping well, hydrating, exercising, and practicing mindfulness, what we call the fundamental five, you will fail. You can't control yourself if you aren't getting better at the basics. Number six, there's a root cause to this problem, so you must treat the underlying issues. Think about it. There's reasons why you can't stop, why you lack empathy, and why you're able to lie the way you do. There are reasons why you feel shame. It's a capacity issue. You really can't help it. You must heal your trauma or your underlying issues driving your secret sexual life in a way that changes how you feel about yourself. And that leads me to the last element, number six. You must create healthy sexuality, integrity, and self-esteem. The goal is not abstinence or sobriety. Those are outcomes. Those are outcomes you create by building a life of integrity, a healthy relationship, and positive self-worth. Now, let's talk about the behavioral interventions that work, according to scientific studies, in sex addiction treatment. Some of these might surprise you, so take notes. These include, number 1, acceptance and commitment therapy. This is one of the few methods that studies say actually work for sex addiction treatment. This approach helps you accept your thoughts and feelings instead of fighting them, which is so important because you will always lose in a fight against yourself. This model empowers you to commit to values-based actions instead of reacting. Number 2, parts work and the internal family systems model. Number 2, parts work and the internal family systems model. This model is rooted in neuroscience and has been declared an evidence-based treatment modality because, let's face it, we all have these different parts of us that feel like they take over when we're stressed, when we're horny, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, when we're sad, and understanding and integrating these different parts of yourself, just like what happened in the movie, are critical. Number 3, mindfulness is mandatory. This intervention is scientifically proven to reduce depression, anxiety, PTSD, compulsive urges, and physical pain. It has been proven to increase well-being, self-control, decision-making, and gratitude. And finally, the tried and true number 4, cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. These are proven methods to change harmful thought patterns and behaviors. At the Mindful Habit, our sex addiction treatment program integrates all of these elements and more. Born from my own struggles with traditional therapy and meetings, our approach doesn't label you as a sex addict for life or focus solely on sobriety. It's about empowering you to lead a life of healthy sexuality, integrity, and purpose. We like to say the cure for your addiction isn't sobriety, it's the aggressive pursuit of a great life. If you're struggling, remember, you don't have to do this alone. And likely, if you're anything like me, you can't do it alone. So reach out, get the support you need, and begin your journey to a healthier, happier you. Check out the resources we recommend in the description, and thank you for watching. If you found this sex addiction treatment video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more insights on overcoming sex and porn addiction and living a great life. Remember, you're not alone, and together we can transform your pain into purpose.